This SoonerScoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. From the big plays to life's everyday moments, see it all in sharp focus with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIK.
Because ultimately we got 11 days to go, do something really special. And we have, everything we want in front of us, and that's really kind of been the message. But again, it's just going to be about us. It's going to be about going out there this week, figuring out a way to go 1-0, and then figure out a way the next week to go 1-0. I mean, that's at its simplest. That's what it is. We have to go out there. We have to play our best brand of football, and go out there and do that.
That was Ben Arbuckle on Tuesday. Welcome into a William and Lauren practice report. Eddie Radosovich, George Stoya here from the SoonerScoop.com studios on historic Campus Quarter, a place that should be bumping this weekend. Two massive games here in Norman to close out the regular season. Certainly coming up, and it starts on at 11 a.m. on Saturday morning with Missouri coming to town. We talked about it on the Estridge Lexus postgame podcast with Kerry Murdoch on Saturday night. It was 365 days ago, this past Saturday, that Oklahoma lost to Missouri. I think that we had some of the darkest conversations about Oklahoma football since you had joined the crew on the drive back from Kansas City. And I guess 372 days later, Oklahoma staring an opportunity in front of them with the chance to get into the college football playoff. We'll get the college football playoff rankings coming out on Tuesday night. You can get all of your coverage on SoonerScoop.com. Find out where Oklahoma is coming out of the Alabama victory, and certainly should be interesting. I think the moral of the story is you win two games, you're going to be in the tournament at some point.
Yes, for sure. And it's just a question of, are you going to be hosting or not? And I do think the rankings, I hope you tune in. I know you're not the biggest fan.
I love the show. Now that Oklahoma is a part of it, I love the show.
But I do think that it'll be interesting to see, where's Oklahoma? Sure. Where's Alabama? Where's Notre Dame? Does Oregon jump ahead of Oklahoma? They've got a big game this week with USC. Where's Michigan at? Like, there's a lot that to still play out in the playoff rankings. And for Oklahoma's sake, it really doesn't matter in a lot of ways as long as you go take care of business. And obviously, Missouri and LSU are going to be trying to play spoiler these next couple weeks.
We did the game day rewind with Josh. Obviously, the defensive performance was exceptional, putting themselves into this position over the last two games, whether it be the performance in Knoxville or the performance this past weekend in Tuscaloosa. The 6 turnovers have been fantastic. Yeah. I think you would like to see a couple more touchdowns turned in from those turnovers. Obviously, the 17 points on Saturday from the turnovers was a good thing. John Mateer was able to capitalize. But the main conversation, as we talked to Brent Venables and we talked to Ben Arbuckle on Tuesday, talked to John Mateer on Monday, this offense, if you really want to be a player in the college football playoff, if you really want to make a run here, they got to be better.
Yeah, no, they have to. And they know that. That's the thing, too, that I'll probably say ad nauseum this week is like those people in the building over there, John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle, that coaching staff, those players on the offensive side of the ball, they know it's not good enough, right? Like they know that they've got to, uphold their side of the bargain. And if they want to reach the goals that they want to this year, if they want to just make the playoff, they're going to need to play better. Because if you think that Oklahoma's just going to go out and force 3 turnovers in every single game and score a defensive touchdown in every single game, that's just not reality. Sure. That's not going to happen. Oklahoma was able to do that against Alabama and Tennessee, and credit to them for that. But if this Oklahoma offense can start scoring some points too, then all of a sudden your defense, they get a helping hand from that as well. So, and we've seen what this defense can do when they're playing with the lead. So I think that they know that in that building, that if they can turn it around on offense and just get a little bit better, then this thing, who knows what the limit is.
It's fascinating. We were talking about this before we started recording earlier this afternoon, just in some type of vacuum. Statistically, Oklahoma from last season to this season, they're not too far off, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what stats you look at.
You're not giving up 50 sacks.
No, right. And but if you just look at total offense and scoring offense, I think there's a pretty big jump in scoring offense, maybe 40 spots in scoring offense, which tells you how bad they were a year ago. But total offense, it's actually very similar. And in conference play, They were last in the SEC last year. They're last right now in total offense. Now, they're still gaining about 30 to 40 yards more, and they're also scoring a few points more than they were a year ago. So, but the biggest difference, Eddie, what you're seeing in the statistics is OU's not turning the ball over. Right. I was telling you this stat earlier. Last year, Oklahoma turned the ball over 17 times in SEC play alone. This year, they've only turned it over 7 times, and they're actually +1 now in turnover margin in SEC play. So they've turned things around. Obviously, that's a big credit to the defense and getting some of those turnovers, but also you look at the offense; they're not turning the ball over a whole heck of a lot right now.
Which is kind of my point in that last year it felt completely broken.
Yeah,
there was nothing that you were going to be able to do. This year, even with just the 2 games left in the regular season, it certainly feels far from being broken. There are periods where they're moving the football. Yeah,
definitely. And they just kind of find an identity. That's the thing that I think's hard for Oklahoma right now is what are they good at? And, I think coming out of the Tennessee game, you're like, okay, well, they can run the football now, right? Like they were able to run it against Ole Miss. Xavier Robinson came alive. He was great down the stretch against Tennessee. They were moving the football. And then they just couldn't do it against Alabama. And some of that's a credit to Alabama. Some of that's Xavier Robinson gets hurt early in the third quarter, and the offense just looked different from there. And then Mateer, he just hasn't looked the same. We'll get into some of his stats later, but he's clearly not the same player he was before the injury versus what he is now. And I don't know, is that a confidence thing? Is that a physical thing? I don't know. But I do think that Oklahoma needs to get their confidence back on offense. They need to find an identity. They need to push the ball down the field, but not a lot. It's not like, hey, you just throw it down the field willy-nilly, but they need to get some of that aggression back, and you'd like to think that they could do that maybe this week against Missouri, who's got a really good defense, but I do think Oklahoma can maybe find some stuff in the passing game.
Certainly some opportunity there on the back end. Before we get into the rest of the program today, let us tell you about our title sponsor on the practice reports, our good friends over at William & Lauren, the official custom clothier of OU football. William & Lauren outfits your favorite OU players in custom suits that boost their confidence off the field to match their confidence on the field. Their perfectly tailored clothing ensures every suitor stands out in comfort and style at prices that make luxury accessible. Visit William & Lauren in Oklahoma City. You could also do so in the 918 in Tulsa or online at williamandlauren.com. That is williamandlauren.com. Dress like a champion and make your style as legendary as Oklahoma football. We were with Lauren over the weekend.
We saw her in Tuscaloosa. They're great people over there.
I was going to say, I was going to say Knoxville, but and then I was like,
in Alabama.
Right.
We saw them in Alabama.
We saw them in both
suits.
places.
Those are good-looking suits. We'll get to see those again, this week when they're back home.
Coming back to Norman, where it feels like they haven't played in forever, right?
Yeah. It's been a minute.
All right, let's get into the program here. We talked to John Mateer on Monday night. We talked to Ben Arbuckle on Tuesday. A little bit more of a review type feel here, looking back at some of the past performances and what they need to do here moving forward offensively.
I will say this. I don't think we have played our best 4 quarters consecutively of football yet. Has there been some really, really good things this season? Absolutely. Has there been some awesome plays? Absolutely. Has there been times where we need to be more detailed and stay on the field and be more efficient? Absolutely. I'm proud of these kids. I'm proud of the work that they've put in. And ultimately, I don't think we've put together our best 4 consecutive quarters of football yet. And that's what I go back to talking about what these next 2 weeks mean. I think our best brand of football is still ahead of us. And we got to go out there and we got to make it happen as coaches and as players. We have to go out there and make it happen all together. And so I'm excited for that challenge. I'm excited to go tackle that challenge. These kids are excited to go tackle that challenge and continue pushing on throughout this season.
We can get a lot better. You can say that every week, and we obviously left a lot of meat on the bone. But I mean, there's a lot of room for improvement. I mean, we didn't run a whole lot of plays, and that's partly our fault. But then you get a pick six, and then special teams plays so well. Like some plays just get cut off. But we got to do better extending drives, and you watch the tape and you can see that. But we got to do better, and we will.
What were some of the things that you saw watching back the tape from this last game that maybe you could have been better at?
Yeah, I mean, just missing reads just like any game. I mean, I'm not expected to play perfect, but I expect myself to play better. We did enough to win, but there's always more, and there's 2 touchdowns on the board that on film, it's planted in my head. Like, I got to go score them, and I got to make the right read to do it.
Talking about extending drives, I felt like you guys were having some success driving the field. What do you think is maybe halting those or stopping those drives?
Yeah, I just say discipline and detail. I mean, there's things that if we just take care of ourselves, then we get the first down or we get more yards to put us in a better position. And that's on me and all of us. And we're all taking accountability. Nobody's shying away from it. But we just got to get better.
Do you think your eyes were better after watching the tape and your footwork like you talked about the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, they were good. I mean, there's always room for improvement. Yeah.
Really good interview session with John Mateer. You can see all of the post-practice interviews. We had about 8 of those guys on Monday night talking about the mentality for Oklahoma moving into these final 2 weeks of the regular season on the SoonerScoop.com editorial page. You mentioned the turnovers with Oklahoma offensively. They haven't been there, which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
But perhaps maybe they're being a little too conservative, George.
Yeah, like I feel like they've not been pushing the ball down the field, especially, I actually have some stats to back that up, but, before Mateer's injury, they had about 8.5 air yards, which means, about 9 yards down the field they're throwing the football. Since his injury, only 5.2. So clearly they're not throwing it as far down the field, and it feels that way. Somebody asked me the other day, it's like, when's the last time you saw them complete like a deep ball? And, they had one, the one that I could think of was the Ole Miss game. On the first possession of the game, he hit Satania on a long pass. Other than that, I feel like even going back to the Texas game, they didn't really hit any.
Sure.
The South Carolina game, that was kind of one of those ones where they just kind of took what was given to them. They didn't really complete a lot of long passes. Ole Miss, they had the one to Satania, but that's it. And then obviously these last 2 games, they really haven't completed much down the field. So they need to get back to that. I don't know why they haven't been able to do that. That was a big talking point, at the press conference on Tuesday, as well as with Mateer on Monday night. So I think, Oklahoma, in terms of aggression through the air, they could certainly ramp that up a bit.
And that was something that you had asked Ben Arbuckle on Tuesday about, just in terms of, you got a great defense. Are you just almost looking at it as do enough and then give it to this defense to be able to shut it down? Yeah,
and I think that's a valid point. Like, I think one thing you have to give credit to Oklahoma for is they're leaning into what they're good at, and that's playing great defense, playing great special teams, play the field position, and that's all great. And you were able to win 2 big games playing that way. But at some point, this offense is going to have to go on a drive and score late in a game, or have to go on a drive to put a team away, or even early in a game go up and score. And Oklahoma did that a lot early this season.
We saw those in the 2 fantastic wins over Michigan and Auburn, right? Both sides of it, running the clock out in the fourth quarter against Michigan, and then obviously having to go on a game-winning drive against Auburn.
Exactly, and they need to get back to some of that stuff, and they need to score. And we're not saying they need to go out and score 40. That's not going to happen. But realistically, how much can you improve in these last 2 games? And I still think that they can. I think that they have to, like I said earlier, find an identity, be a bit more aggressive, make defenses actually defend you in the passing game. And when you have wide receivers like a Giovanni Gibson and Jermichael Carter out there, or even a Satania, let them try and go up and make a play, down the sideline. Keep those defenses honest. And I think if you can do that, then maybe that could open up some other stuff.
Here is Brent Venables, Ben Arbuckle, John Mateer talking on just that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what you said. You want to stay aggressive. You got to play smart football. That, again, you always are, working together. What does the winning formula this week look like? And some weeks it's similar. Some weeks it's not, based on, matchups and things of that nature. And then the flow of the game dictates it too. Are we winning the line of scrimmage? Are we getting off the field? Are we able to run the ball on offense and create explosive plays? Are we able to do those things? And then the kicking game, certainly, with the ability that we have, with Sandell, that's a big deal. It certainly affected us a year ago with not being able to do a whole lot on offense, and then we were very inconsistent at kicking field goals a year ago. And so now you're kind of forced in those past the logo, around the 40 areas that all the analytics are saying it's a go at 10, 4th and 10. And knowing damn well you haven't seen them get much on 1st and 10, let alone 4th and 10. But you can't make a field goal, so now what do you do? And so we're not in the same position, this year. And again, we've been playing good defense. So those are all just, you got to, be comfortable in the flow of the game based on your strengths and how the game, is going. So we want to be explosive. We want to be better in every area of our football team, let alone, again, the things that we need to do, offensively to put people in a really tough position and putting pressure on people with the ability to, run the ball and throw it over the top. I think that's the vision for what we want to be. And we got to be better in all of those areas.
I don't necessarily think it changes how I approach a game or how I call a game. Am I sometimes looking, how can I take pressure off the defense? Because, they are playing so well, and they're very, very good at what they do, and they put us in a lot of really good situations a lot. So how can I take some pressure off of them is more kind of how I look at some things. But from how I call it just offensively, no, it doesn't necessarily change my mindset going into a game, going into a week, going into a drive. At the end of the day, we got to stay on the field and put points on the board. And so that doesn't change whether you have a really good defense or a really bad defense. And so just continuing to find the best way to do that.
John, you mentioned the aggressiveness. It feels like you guys haven't taken a ton of shots downfield. Is that, at least in the last couple games, is that just something defenses are throwing at you guys, or is it just kind of taking what's given to you?
Yeah, they're playing a lot of coverage, but we still need to do it. And I need to be more aggressive and do it. But yeah.
John, the spread in total offense yards against Alabama, they had almost 200 more yards than you guys did. Is that going to work against Missouri and LSU and maybe even like a college football playoff team?
Yeah, I don't know. Every game is different. You play to win the game, and like I said earlier, like the pick six, that's a whole drive where they just get the ball back and they run more plays, and then we had the punt return. So there's a lot of yards that our special teams and our defense got, and so they just had, they did a good job. Like they moved it. They obviously had the turnovers, but so it's every game is different, and we'll play each game.
Take a quick time out from the practice report to tell you about our good friends and sponsors, and we'll start with Hollow Socks. I got mine on today, as you can see. Ooh, wow. Got a little bit of leg in there. Alpaca socks built for the field. I'm going to be wearing a lot of socks because it's going to get a little bit colder. And let us tell you about Hollow Socks. HollowSocks.com. For a limited time, Hollow Socks is giving a buy two, get two free sale. Head to HollowSocks.com today to check it out. Notice the reinforced structure, heel and toe, George. Perfect for hunting boots. Lightweight, supportive, and unbelievably soft. They're 3 times warmer than wool and still lightweight. They keep your feet dry for your hiking adventures up a hill to get to your street stand or stalking trophy bulls in the mountains. You're going to be headed to the mountains, maybe going skiing. A really good sock for skiing as well.
Yeah, I can't wait to wear them. I know my wife has some too, so we're super excited to get up in the mountains and stay warm with the socks.
And the best part, made in the United States of America. Over 2 million pairs already sold. Once you wear Hollow, you'll never go back to wool or cotton socks ever again for a limited time. Again, all you got to do is go to HollowSocks.com, buy 2, get 2 free sale. Head to Hollow Socks today. HollowSocks.com for up to 50% off your order. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. You can support our show by telling them that we sent you from SoonerScoop.com. Thank you to our good friends over at Hollow Socks. We also want to tell you about our good friends over at Lucy. We've been doing so all season long. Lucy, the 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free. Lucy breakers are nicotine pouches with an extra surprise. Each pouch holds a capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration. Now, what you're going to want to do is get a subscription. They'll send it right to your doorstep. All you got to do is go to lucy.co/SoonerScoop. Use the promo code SoonerScoop. Wintergreen, apple ice, espresso, cinnamon, mint. Plenty of flavors to choose from and multiple sizes to choose from as well. The 4 milligram, 8 milligram, 12 milligram. We have them in our mouths all day. Pause. Lucy.co/SoonerScoop, promo code SoonerScoop. And we must tell you, here comes the fine print, but let me tell you this before we do so. Lucy.co/SoonerScoop, promo code SoonerScoop, 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Now time for the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Thank you to our good friends over at Lucy. Now back to the practice report. So that's kind of where that's at, right?
I've got a stat for you.
Okay.
I got a stat for you. So
I like that.
Oklahoma this year, they rank 45th in the country in passing plays over 20 yards, which 20 yards is an explosive play.
Sure.
That's 45th in the country. Do you want to take a guess on how many they had a year ago in 3 more games than obviously Oklahoma
I
this year?
remember talking about this at the end of last year. It was almost nil. Let's say 15.
20. They
Yeah,
had 20.
I remember-
In all of last year, they had 20 passing
Sure.
plays over 20-plus yards. That ranked 133rd in the country.
Oh, God.
So again, it's I don't want to sit here and say, oh, everything's great and they're going to be fine. They need to be better. Like
Sure.
this team is obviously a better football team than they were a year ago. You've seen this offense; they've taken some steps. They've not turned the ball over. They've had some more explosive plays. They're more effective at times. They're I think they're like first in the country in red zone offense. So they
are
score
31 for 31 right now.
So that's great. A lot of those are field goals. So you need to.
And I think a lot of that too. And you heard Brent talking about it. They feel very confident when they get into field goal range and the Tate Sandell range, who, by the way, was named a semifinalist for the Lou Groza Award on today on Tuesday. They feel confident about it. They feel like they can get 3, but if you're going to make a run, and I understand that Tennessee and Alabama, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of explosive plays. So I think that factors into it a little bit. You do want to see some steps made in that department here over the next 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, and look, they have quite a few over 20 plus, but I just pulled up the stats for 30 plus. Only 10 passing plays over 30 plus yards this year. That's 106th in the country. So obviously that's a spot, throwing, more deep passes and things of that nature. But yeah, they need to do that because it's not, and sometimes it doesn't matter if you complete it. Obviously you want to complete it, but like if you don't, it keeps defenses honest. And then all of a sudden maybe that opens up some of the run game for guys like Torrey Blaylock and Xavier Robinson and even John Mateer and some of that stuff. So you just like to see them do that because right now I think teams are, they kind of are forcing Oklahoma into some situations where they're being pretty predictable, I think, offensively. And if Oklahoma can get away from that and create some more explosive plays, then I think that'll open up a lot of stuff.
As George said, that's been a little bit of the, what word am I thinking of?
Theme?
The theme of the week, if you will, and talking to Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer. Here's a little bit more. Where'd that vertical passing game go for Oklahoma, and can they find it over the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it's really important to stretch the field. Just, like 5 weeks ago, being able to run the ball was really, really important. I mean, every aspect of an offense is really important because it can help complement the other parts of it, At the end of the day, just throwing the ball down the field, I mean, it can be a lot of different things. 1, maybe I got to call it a little bit more. 2, John's got to hit it downfield. Or 3, we got to make the catches. It's all of us. It's not just one singular aspect of it, but in terms of the offense, I mean, in terms of being efficient on offense, it definitely has its role in keeping us on the field and generating explosive plays, and so we have to continue to find the best ways to go out there and do that and put our kids in position to be successful.
Along those lines, you mentioned you guys were efficient and having turnovers that last game, but you mentioned maybe there's times where you guys can be more aggressive. How do you balance that between maybe still having that aggressiveness while still taking care of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a coach, and I don't know. And I think you have such a good defense, such good special teams. You play to win, but there's some people say you play not to lose, and I don't think we did that. But I think there's spots that I can be more aggressive in the way I make my decisions, and I will, and we'll learn from it. Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, they're so young, and that's what everybody talks about. But those are some men that are not afraid of anything, and they get after it. And standing behind them, I know sometimes it doesn't seem like it, but I trust them, and I trust them. And I just say, I just move around too much. That has nothing to do with them. It's just a flaw that I have in my quarterback play, and I'm going to fix it. But I trust them. I love them to death. And I really mean that.
Ben, it seems like Mateer is less aggressive, maybe less brazen in the way he's playing quarterback the last few weeks. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But has that been a tough adjustment for him, do you think? Has he changed the way he's sort of approaching quarterback position, and has that been a tough transition?
He hasn't changed the way that he's approaching it. We haven't changed the way that we're coaching him. He hasn't changed the way he's been at practice. He hasn't changed his process throughout the week going into it. So, he is a special kid. He's a talented kid, and ultimately on every single play, he's trying to put the team in the best position to be successful. I mean, at the very end of the day, with the play that is called or what the defense has given us, he's trying to put the team in the best position to be successful, and that hasn't changed at all. And so nothing has changed about his process. Nothing has changed about him mentally or personally. I mean, so, yeah.
So this is where it becomes awkward, because what I'm about to say kind of goes in the face of everything we just talked about with Oklahoma and the passing game. It does feel like Jermichael Carter, Giovanni Gibson are starting to get a little bit more comfortable. Isaiah Satania has been a constant in the passing game for Oklahoma during this recent run that they've been on.
Yeah, and Satania's kind of been the go-to guy, right? Obviously, he's the leading receiver, and he's done a lot of really good things. But I think Giovanni Gibson and Jermichael Carter, if they can emerge, they could bring a new dynamic. I mean, obviously, two bigger-bodied guys. I think both of them are really good run blockers. So, and you heard, I think Brent say on his coach's show that they have to be a lot better in perimeter blocking. I wonder, can you get both those guys on the field at the same time? Maybe you take a Deion Burks off, who has struggled at times in run blocking. So I think both those guys kind of showing, hey, we can make some plays, not only in the passing game, but obviously the run game as well. I think that could be a tremendous help for Oklahoma. And then obviously at this point, I wouldn't take Isaiah Satania off the field. I mean, He's your best offensive player right now. He seems to be the only guy making things happen. Now, can't fumble. Got to stop losing the ball. Seems to be an issue there. But he is clearly a guy that kind of gives them a spark.
No doubt about it. Here is a little bit more on that trio in terms of Jermichael Carter, Giovanni Gibson, as well as Isaiah Satania from John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle.
Great. I mean, he's a great human, and then him coming and pushing everybody, and he's always ready. That's how it's been since he got here. And but I'm really proud of him, and I told him that, and he's going to keep doing it.
How big of a game was that for Giovanni's confidence, you think?
I think it was big. I think he loved the moment. When you talk about somebody that's screaming in the locker room after he won, it's him and his high-pitched voice. You can't miss it. So. But he loves playing here, and I'm excited for him.
Yeah, 100%. You go back to September, I mean, J-Mike hadn't been here very long at that point. And so I think there's an aspect to the position of learning the scheme, learning the offense, and then being able to go out there and apply it after you do learn it. And the more reps that you do get, the more confident and comfortable that you're going to get. And that's all that it's been. He's been a constant, consistent piece at practice, just learning the scheme, getting down the fine details of it, building trust. And as the season has gone on, you can see that by the increase in his numbers. And he's gone out there, and whenever his number's been called, he's done a really good job. And so just speaks to him, speaks to the mindset that he has, and I just think he's going to keep on getting better.
Early in the season, it looked like you guys had maybe 3 or 4 guys, as far as receivers, very similar in production. As the season has worn on, Isaiah Satania has kind of elevated and maybe pushed ahead of the other guys. What have you seen from him that's allowed him to become more of the go-to guy versus the others?
Yeah, I mean, what have I seen from him? I'm not even going to talk about games here. Just whenever we're in the building and at practice, I mean, the kid goes. The kid knows what he's supposed to do, when he's supposed to do it, how he's supposed to do it. Is he perfect? No, but does he do pretty dang good? Yeah, he does. And I mean, y'all watch the same game I do. I mean, whenever the ball's in his hands, usually good things happen. And so I think that builds a really good trust. And I'm not even talking about just from me. I'm talking about from everybody in the building, from the quarterback. And so, he's just ultra consistent. He's an ultra competitor. And, special things happen whenever the ball's in his hand. And so I think that could lead to a little bit of uptick in his production. And, but he's earned everything that he's gotten.
Not to mention, and it was a little bit of a surprise last week when he wasn't included on the availability report. I think it was 1 snap. You should have Keontez Lewis. I don't know if he's going to be a big factor moving forward, but I do think what we saw prior to the injury, he certainly could help Oklahoma in the passing game.
Yeah, and you wonder, he only played, like you said, one snap. Is he fully healthy? I doubt it. I don't know how much he practiced last week. You would hope maybe this week he can get a full week's worth of practice and maybe get into some of the game plan. I would assume that's kind of why we didn't see him a ton. He probably didn't get a ton of reps, so he wasn't a part or a huge part of the game plan. This week, maybe that will be the case. Maybe he gets some more reps and you get to see him more. So certainly adding a guy like him, a veteran, somebody who was really good early in the season, I think that would definitely be a help for John Mateer in this passing game.
Any of the Oklahoma teams that made true, legitimate runs towards the national title here over the last 10 years, we'll say a decade. I'm thinking of some of the historic offenses. You had a Rodney Anderson. You had somebody then. You were able to run the football extremely well. Oklahoma has been able to run the football. Kennedy Brooks, another really good example. Oklahoma, they had found a running game here over the last couple of weeks. Xavier Robinson injury on Saturday in Tuscaloosa. He came back into the game in the fourth quarter, certainly looked hobbled. Torrey Blaylock's been battling through his fair share. And then you have the question marks. Oklahoma's running back depth is going to be tested over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it's certainly not an ideal time for that to happen with 2 games left. And you're going to, like you said, you're going to need to be able to run the football if you want to win these games. And if you make it to the playoff to compete at the highest level, you got to be able to run the ball, at least, in some fashion. So with both those guys a little bit banged up, I expect both of them to play this week. We'll see if either one pops up on the availability report on Wednesday, but I kind of think they're both going to give it a go. Now, are they going to be 100%? I highly doubt it. I think they're going to try and tough it out, but if those guys were to both go down, I really don't know who your options are, because you got Jaden Ott, who I think would probably be the option. I really do. I think he'd be the next guy up. You have walk-on Gabe Sawchuk. Those are the only 2 guys that have been traveling with the team. And then you have Javonte Barnes and Taylor Tatum, who have not been traveling. Taylor Tatum, he's been injured all year, several different injuries. I don't think it's just one thing. We'll see, what's going on with him. And then Javonte Barnes, I think the writing's on the wall. I think that he's played his 4 games. He knows that he doesn't have much of an opportunity here. And would he be willing to burn that red shirt, burn his last year of eligibility to play in these final 2 games? I don't know the answer.
Yeah, certainly. It's a decision that has to be made, especially if.
And I wonder, is that conversation, being had behind closed doors this week?
Sure.
Of, hey, Javonte, we know that you don't want to play, or you want to potentially save that red shirt, whatever. But we need you. We could really use you in these final 2 games,
and use you to make a run at a national title.
And it's a hard thing, because to me, it's I understand OU's perspective of they need him. I also understand Javonte Barnes saying, "Hey, 100%. I want one more year to prove myself so I can go play in the NFL," and that opportunity just hasn't been here this year at Oklahoma. So it's a tough decision from both sides. And again, I kind of don't anticipate him being available, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
No doubt about it. Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle both spoke on the running back depth being tested on Tuesday.
It's going to be tested without question. So hopeful that we can stay healthy, and we're going to probably have to spread it out a little more, to kind of manage in the next couple of weeks.
Just as the season continues, got to see with those guys every day in practice, and how their process is going, how their body's feeling, and ultimately how they look throughout the week. But those are tough kids. That room is a bunch of tough kids in that room, and who want to play football, who want to be out there for their team. And so just as the season continues, you have to continuously every single day see how they're doing and see how they're practicing. You got to lean on the medical staff, but yeah, no, I'm excited to watch those guys practice this week and watch them get after it this week.
It's going to be rather interesting, and certainly you hope that somebody like Xavier Robinson, the run that he has been on, is okay. We expect him to be available, but certainly, you saw the video there when Ben Arbuckle was talking. A little bit of a helmet right on the knee, and certainly wasn't the best situation coming out of Tuscaloosa for Oklahoma's running back room.
He did finish the fourth quarter. I want to point that out. He played the whole fourth quarter. Now, he didn't look very good, but he did play the whole fourth quarter. And I think Blaylock, he just hasn't gotten much run the last couple of weeks. I think that you could see him probably get some more this week. Like Brent said, I certainly think they're going to try and split those snaps maybe a bit more than they have been.
All right, that's going to do it for the William and Lauren practice report here on a Tuesday. We'll be back on Wednesday with another practice report, talking with a number of the players and the mentality going into this week. I think that there is a little bit of a fear of a letdown, right, coming in off of the 2 victories out on the road dog mentality that's kind of been a mantra of Oklahoma. It certainly is going to be up to the test. You would think that they're going to be welcomed back in Norman with a really good atmosphere coming up on Saturday, and with everything that's out there. And I think that, the one thing that we can say, and we talked about it a little bit on the postgame podcast, as well as talking with Josh on Monday, it certainly seems from a leadership standpoint, from a mentality standpoint, everybody knows what's out there. You're not having to risk it or rely on somebody else to make your fate. You win 2 games, you're in the tournament.
Yeah, and I think the leadership on this team is really strong, like you said. And I know there's a lot of people out there maybe upset with John Mateer's play or whatever. I think his leadership has been maybe the most valuable thing he's brought to this team. The camaraderie, the brotherhood, all of that stuff. You can really sense that. And, I don't think that was always the case last year. You see some of the stuff that you see on social media and just the way they interact with, John Mateer and some of the offensive guys. I don't know if that was always the case a year ago.
Sure.
And I think that that's a large reason why they've been able to find ways to win. And now it's about, hey, can you close it out these last 2 games? Keep the main thing, as the great Jalen Hurts would say. Don't worry about the playoffs just yet. We'll get into that in the practice report tomorrow. But it does seem like this group is pretty focused right now.
Significant jump on Tuesday night?
I think they'll jump to around 7.
Okay.
You're probably watching this as the rankings are coming out or are already out. But my guess is 7 or 8 is where they're going to be.
Will be interesting. We'll recap everything on Wednesday for you right here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. Obviously, we'll talk about it on the Unofficial 40 that you can listen to on all your podcasting platforms with Kerry Burdock and Josh McQuistion. For now, I am Eddie. He is George. This is the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel. We'll see you back here on Wednesday.